Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Trust and Believe. I'm your host, Shaun T. I really appreciate you being here. And today we have a really exciting interview, not only because we are interviewing someone that is a part of a brand that I was attached to because I love buying things on Instagram ads. But Mason Robinson is a part of the Chubbies brand, and he is going to talk to you guys about not only how to be all-inclusive in races and sexual orientation, but we also go a little bit deeper into therapy and how Chubbies is a part of mental health in a really big way. I think a lot of you are going to really enjoy this interview and you're going to feel it in your soul. So get ready to trust and believe.
Somebody say hell yeah!
No. What's up? He's better than Oprah. Come on, y'all.
This is Shaun T, and it's time to trust and believe. I'm kicking this off with Chubbies because the reason why I wanted to have you on the show is because I am absolutely obsessed with the brand. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, I have it on my shirt.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me, and your support of the brand means the world to us. So thank you.
Okay, I just need to know, first of all, why you started the brand. We'll find out about you in a minute. I just need to know why you started this brand because I'm so excited to find out.
What I should clarify is I'm not technically a founder. There are 4 co-founders. The 5 of us went to school together. I've kind of been involved since the start, but technically, this is kind of a funny story. The 4 co-founders are Tom, Preston, Kyle, and Rainer. And Tom actually reached out to me back in 2011, and he said, we're going to move out of our San Francisco apartments. We're going to buy an RV. We're going to live on Ocean Beach to save money and put that into a company that sells Hawaiian shirts and short shorts. To which I said, no, thank you. I don't, good luck. I think you got a chance, but I was comfortable and I wasn't ready to take that risk, frankly. But they started the brand pretty much because they felt the fashion industry at the time was operating off of exclusivity. We're cool because only, these elite body types can wear us, or our price point is inaccessible. And that felt very jarring to how they wanted to experience the world, and fashion in particular. They also were really in admiration of their father's style. Retro was appealing. One of the founders came from Gap, so he had some industry experience in apparel, and they thought these short shorts are fantastic, and they would wear their father's shorts and get a lot of positive comments. They ended up taking 25 pairs of shorts in a backpack to Lake Tahoe and selling them almost immediately. Found them rather polarizing. Either people were like, get that away from me, or this is pretty kick-ass. And then they thought, hey, we might be onto something. And it grew from there. I got involved about a year after the website launched, and am now going on 8 years of brand growth and development.
Very cool. So how did you guys come up with the name Chubbies?
It certainly is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but the honest answer is it was intended to be, again, kind of a juxtaposition to like the Abercrombie and Fitches of the world at the time, where, you walk by the store and there are people shirtless. And I know fitness is huge. I'm not saying being fit isn't something to aspire to, but it also kind of felt like, hey, if you don't meet this body type, we're not appealing to you. So it was meant to be a bit of a name that would cultivate that sense of juxtaposition, welcoming to all body types. And if you have a few beers, there's an elastic waistband, your shorts are still going to fit. And I'd be lying if I didn't say, again, the founders were aware of kind of the double meaning there and just thought that was another fun way to set the brand apart from kind of the standard in fashion at the time.
Yeah, no, and that's one of the reasons why it caught my eye, especially the ads you guys run on TikTok. And I actually bought it off an Instagram ad. I'm obsessed. I gained 50 pounds at one point in my life. And I remember, the stores that only show the super fit guys with the super ripped abs.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going into those stores and buying those clothes, and like, it is aspiring. It's, if I wear this, I can feel that way. But as I've gotten older, and obviously I've been in the fitness for a long time, and really trying to inspire people to accept their body type, I just love how the ads you put out because personally, as a gay man, like the guys you guys put on your ads, I'm like, these guys are hot. Like they're hotter than me than like the super ripped, whatever, everybody got their own type or whatever.
Sure.
So when I see the ads, I'm like, yes, I'm like, this is amazing, because so many guys look that way, and it helps them feel, obviously, I don't want to use the word normal, but it helps them feel accepted. And then in addition to that, I do have big thighs and a big booty. And obviously, like I said, I'm fit, but I do have that. So I was like, let me try these. Let me see if they really fit. Let me see if they really make me feel, sexy. And so we went on vacation, and I had the shorts, not the swim trunks or anything. I had like regular shorts, and they just felt really comfortable, and I got compliments in them.
Right.
So, it's just, to me, I just want to give you a huge shout out for really making people feel accepted and like feeling like they can wear something that fits, and their body type is a part of, very appealing and sexy. So what kind of roadblocks did you hit, and when did you all like really take off? Because truth be told, I was with someone who was much younger than me a while ago, and they were like, or a few weeks ago, and they were like, oh my God, like Chubbies is the brand, like it's the hottest thing. And I was like, I never heard of them until I was scrolling through Instagram. So when did you all kind of take off?
Yeah, that's a great question. It feels like there's been stages. To answer the obstacle question, the one thing that we've really been fighting an uphill battle against, on the topic of just trust and transparency, the founders, the four of them, are white, cis, male fraternity brothers from Stanford University. And they have, and we have always had an awareness that there's some toxicity in that culture. And some of our first marketing programs actually stemmed because of the connections that the founders had from programs designed around fraternities. We'll have college ambassadors in fraternities who will spread the word. But we've also learned that has kind of pigeonholed us into this association of white, male, wealthy, cis. And we've always had to make a conscious effort to say, the values that are kind of akin to that community are not the values that we as a company or a brand share. Granted, there's some origin tie, but we have always had to say this is a brand for everybody, regardless of social status, regardless of race, regardless of sexual orientation, what have you. The list goes on and on. And it took a while for our community to understand that. And it's been a really validating, almost culminating in this podcast like process to see our audience appreciate those efforts and really feel like we've come to a point where the community that we're building represents the the values that we hold internally. So that's been an obstacle, been a battle. We've been consciously making an effort against since I would say the inception of the brand. And then in terms of like just growing awareness, I think there was a moment in time in 2013 when a pair of shorts called the Americas, which are the American flag casual shorts, sold out just fantastically faster than anybody could have predicted. And we hit a point where the website was always under inventoried, and we thought, this is real. We're going to have to, invest in inventory so we're not disappointing our customers because we're getting so much traffic and it seems like there is growing appeal. And then year over year, we've been growing. The next step was probably in 2016, we had 365 million cross-platform views on all of our content, which for the year put us, according to this brand ranking, in the top 50 brands. And I think that's when, in terms of general awareness, we really exploded, and we've just been building off that ever since.
Going back to what you were talking about earlier about just being inclusive for sexual orientation, gender, race and everything, with it being Pride Month, I really appreciate you saying that, because there were two things that really made me want to invest in the brand even more and reach out to you guys, which was a lot of times you scroll through some of these brands that have really cool clothes and you don't see any color. You see only white guys, sometimes they head into the Latin look, but it really has this one, it seems like they're marketing to one kind of person, one race, one body type. So as I was scrolling through your page, I saw that you had, for me specifically, you had Black people. And then I can tell that you also cater towards the LGBT community. And I was like, yes, like that to me was just, it just popped out to me because it was just an all-inclusive brand. And that's, what my brand is about. Everybody is accepted here. And so, with it being Pride Month and everything, how are you including people in the LGBT community, and what are you going, what are you going after?
Right.
What is your goals for helping them understand that they're accepted?
We have a collection called Pride is Year Round, which we've offered at least 3, maybe this is the 4th year. And what's exciting about it, outside of the collection that is intended for all, but to be visually representative of support for the LGBTQ plus community, is this is 3-4 years in a row now that we have partnered in some form or fashion with the Trevor Project, which is, for those listening who may not know, the nation's leading organization for crisis intervention and suicide prevention for LGBTQ youth. This year is probably, in terms of the action we're taking to support the Trevor Project, the most we've ever done, and I trust and believe we'll continue to build on it. But $5 from every product sold in the Pride collection, which launched today, goes to support the efforts of the Trevor Project, destigmatizing mental health services, suicide prevention, crisis intervention. And then what's really exciting is we launched our nonprofit charitable foundation called Foundation 43 on May 17th, so about 3 weeks ago. And what that enables us to do is, with every sale, so if anybody buys anything at any time, indefinitely from Chubbies, a portion of those proceeds go to Foundation 43. And then Foundation 43 has partnered with Headstrong, Black Men Heal, Active Minds, but also Trevor Project. So a portion of every sale goes to support the Trevor Project. And what we came to realize is we need to be working with experts who built these organizations, by and for the communities that they serve. And then in funding those organizations, that felt like the best way that we can have a sustained impact in terms of helping those communities. So it's a really cool day today to be on this podcast and to be talking about this. And the Pride collection, as well as the foundation, are kind of the culmination of our efforts to include and support these communities.
How do you... Because there are a lot of, like we spoke about other brands before and other companies who have this fear that if they, do support, LGBTQ plus community, or if they do step outside of their comfort zone and who they are marketing to, especially in terms of race, they get afraid. They probably feel like they're going to hit roadblocks or whatever. How do you help them, or even people out there who may be thinking just a certain way about these groups? How do you feel you could help them understand and open their mind to, like, being all inclusive is a much better way to go?
I think there are two justifications, and one comes from the place of being a human being with a conscience. Mm-hmm. And that's where it grew from internally with us. And when we would get pushback, we were very quick to say, let them go. Those aren't people that we need nor want in our community. If you live with that hate for whatever segment of society we may be advocating for. But you phrase that question in a really like action-oriented, positive way. So my answer on that end, the more people you can appeal to as a brand, the more success you're going to have inherently. If you isolate these niches, that's not a scalable, sustainable, long-term strategy. If you build a brand that says, hey, we're here for everyone, always, then your, total accessible market, to use kind of a cliche marketing term, expands infinitely, right? So if you can't get there because it's like, be a decent human being, for God's sake, then you could probably find a business case for it as well.
Yeah. It's like if you can't just be a good human and, do it for the money, at least to help people feel accepted. What happened to you in your life that made you feel like, no, like I have to push beyond, like I have to dig a little deeper in my life?
I know you have biracial fraternal twins. I am a biracial fraternal twin, and my mom is Black. My dad is white. On my Black side, we've been mixed, 200 years.
For years,
like since slavery and what would happen to slave owners and the slaves. And so my grandmother passed away, sadly last August. I did a whole bunch of research on my family, and was able to trace the lineage on my mom's side, the Black side, all the way back to census data from, like early 1800s, where people in my family were denoted as mulatto, the term used at the time for mixed people, right? So fast forward to my brother and I, my mom raised us. My dad wasn't around. My parents were never married. But I always felt odd in that I appear visually very white. But I was raised by the Black side of my family, and my mom's sisters had children with Black men. So all my cousins, look like you, if not darker. I had this privilege that comes with being visually white, but this understanding of the Black community and the obstacles and the systemic oppression, the history of this country. So I think I came from a place of like, again, people are people. That doesn't mean that everyone has the same lot in life or the same ability to achieve. There's certainly different playing fields. But I think everyone should be generally accepted, given they're open to, loving one another, appreciating one another for who they are, without these rather arbitrary divisions and labels being placed on people, and so much, seeming importance on our differences rather than what unites us. So that's just my lens on the world, and I think I guess that comes out in my personality.
Yeah, but in a really good way, and it's so interesting. You said you're a fraternal twin, right?
Yeah.
And your brother or sister?
Brother.
Do you have a brother?
I have a twin brother.
Is he much darker than you?
He is a little darker. Yeah. He is.
It's so interesting because when my kids were born, my husband's mother, my mother-in-law, was just like very concerned. And so, initially I'm like, I'm not saying like, what are you concerned about in like a negative way, but I live in this world of, we're going to raise our kids. We're going to, they're going to be fine. And she's almost 80 years old. And so she's obviously been through a lot of the tough times in our country. I'm just going to say our country, let alone the world. And so she's always been like, I'm really afraid that Silas, who's the lighter of the two, who looks white, and he's actually mixed, but she's like, I'm just afraid that, he's going to be treated much better, and Sanders going to like always kind of be treated less than because of the color of his skin. And she was I mean, she was really upset about it. And I never let it really affect me that much because I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like I have this superpower of making my kids strong and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And having been through it myself, because being like, even when I was younger, I was much lighter skinned than I am now. Just, like if I showed you my upper leg, if you will, I'm like super light.
Yeah.
So, and I remember being treated differently than some of my friends who were dark skinned. Like it was so, and I have lighter eyes. And so, did you and your twin ever have any situations that you kind of ended up having to talk about?
We haven't talked much about it. When I say he's darker, he's not that much darker. I actually think people see in us what they want to believe. I think the white community can look at us and quickly just say, white enough, like give him a pass. I don't need to have that fear that I think a lot of people, or that uncertainty or that skepticism that I think a lot of, unfortunately, white people just live with before they can broach barriers. But I also, and I think this applies to my brother as well, get recognized and acknowledged as mixed most often by Black people. They can just tell and pick up on it. So I think we both have lived this hybrid experience, which is, I have to acknowledge the privilege. Very fortunate in that the white community doesn't put up barriers, but the Black community can recognize, and to the extent that that's unique, I don't know, but we didn't, I think between the two of us, have anything too dissimilar, and only in the past few years have I really wrapped my head around what that has meant for me and how I view the world. But it's been defining, and in terms of the influence on Chubbies, I like to assume it's been influential in the way that we kind of portray the brand, and hope that it resonates with people of all communities. Hope that we're perceived as a brand that is welcoming to all, regardless of, again, race, orientation, religion, all of these unnecessary bifurcations.
I think it's extremely powerful. And I actually have a friend who, she told me years ago, she's a light-skinned Black woman, and she actually grew up in, she went to school with a lot of, I think her school was pretty mixed, I would say, but she had a kind of an opposite experience where the Black people in her school were saying she wasn't Black enough.
Yeah.
And then but then also, there were white people in her school that saying she wasn't white enough. So she was like stuck in this place of just not being accepted. I felt like she was, obviously felt alone a little bit, or maybe a lot of bit teased. And I believe that it really affected her till later in her life, because at such a young age, it's hard to kind of maneuver your way through those emotions, especially as an adolescent.
Yeah.
And it's just, I just really appreciate you sharing that, because a lot of people would not, they probably wouldn't, it's a conversation that somebody wouldn't feel brave enough, especially, what has happened in our country over the last hundreds of years, but especially last year into this year. And so it's just really nice to have someone be able to talk about it and be like, listen, I'm literally mixed, and, I'm able to take my mind and apply it to the things that are going to help make the world a better place. And I just want to thank you so much for just being that person. And obviously, filtering it into the LGBTQ community, because I also sometimes say a lot to people who have been, ridiculed against, or who have maybe been privy to racism, or, feeling different or an outsider have a better understanding and obviously opportunity to want to help people because they just understand what it feels like to be alone and different and a minority and separate. So, yeah, I just really appreciate that.
I have so much gratitude for you, your brand, what you've done, and the fact that you appreciate our efforts really is so validating. And the entire team is so excited that someone like you enjoys the brand, especially for the reasons that you do, which is evidence that the effort we're putting in is not going unappreciated. So right back at you. Thank you so much. I'm very excited, obviously, to be here, but to continue this relationship and hopefully can manifest some pretty cool partnerships down the line.
Even in my brand, being a gay man in commercial fitness, and, you know, quick funny story that you may not know, Alex, who's the producer of this podcast, she planned my husband and my wedding.
Oh, wow.
And so at our wedding, after our wedding, she posted a photo on Twitter that said, you know, I forget what it said, but that she was congratulating us. And the blogs went crazy, like Shaun T, you know, from Insanity comes out as gay. And we're looking around like, bitch, I've been out. You know, I'm like, once I told my mom and brother at 21, I'm like, and when was I in the closet? Right. You know, so it's just like this really kind of funny thing. But I actually, prior to that, because I had been living an openly gay life for a really long time. And so when we talk about brands, it's just really interesting that it took a few years for the comments in my social media and the reviews to diminish from like, oh my God, I can't believe you're gay. Right. You're a waste of a man. You know, all of these, you know, really horrible things. And it used to really get on my nerves. And now I think it happens once every 6 months instead of every day.
Right.
And I don't know, just and then I felt like, just like with Chubbies, when I was like, okay, well, people are going to tease me, then I need to be really vocal about this and really talk about my family and my life. And I did take a hit in the brand. Like, there were people that unfollowed or whatever, sure. And now it's on the rise because people are seeing that, you know, not only it's less about being gay and being all inclusive, you know?
Yeah. I love that. That gives me so much hope. That is something we've seen with Chubbies as well over the years of repeatedly, outwardly, emphatically messaging. We're here for the Black community. We're here for the LGBTQ plus community. You start to see, and we have the most fantastic customer service team, and they'll attest to this. We would get horrible, hateful messages at an unfortunate frequency. But as we've just continued to persevere and say, this isn't a debate. We're not soliciting suggestions here. This is the fact about how we're operating this brand. The people who can't come around have left. We're not the brand for them, so be it. But we have amassed an even larger following because there are so many people who appreciate that approach, and that gives me a lot of hope. For brands like ours, for brands of the future, where you can be a brand that genuinely stands for everyone and everything, and not have to worry about diminishing following, but rather gain traction from that perspective.
How can people out there really, besides purchasing, you know, a product, how can they support some of the organizations that you guys, what you have started and are part of?
Right. Foundation43.org is the philanthropic foundation we just launched last month. And then the partner organizations, I would just encourage people to check out. Headstrong provides, they all have a mental health access aspect. But Headstrong is focused on veterans and healing the hidden wounds of war. So they provide cost-free mental health services to veterans. Trevor Project we've talked a bit about, and that's the crisis intervention, the suicide prevention for LGBTQ youth. Black Men Heal is a really cool organization that provides mental health services for men of color. And they have a sort of tailored approach to therapist assignment. So ensuring that people are matched with mental health experts who understand the granularities of how mental health is viewed in the Black community, which is a really exciting organization to be working with. And then Active Minds is a youth, college-aged organization, or an organization focused on providing mental health access and destigmatizing mental health for youth, young people in colleges, and they really activate college campuses around the country. So I would encourage all the listeners to check out Foundation 43, as well as those four organizations that we've partnered with, if they want to be a part of the movement.
You know, we here at Trust and Believe, we are sponsored by Talkspace. So we are really big into therapy, and I've had a lot of therapy in my life, and it really helped me tremendously. It seems as though there's a lot of mental health advocacy within the organizations that you're a part of. Have you had experience with therapy, or have like anybody on your team? Because it seems like it's an integral part of the growth, especially for your customers.
Yeah, it is certainly integral. I personally probably have not done enough, is what I would say to that question. I've had a few sessions, and what I want to acknowledge is everybody that I really admire is pretty actively engaging in therapy and also talking about it openly. I'm not sure what it's gonna take. It's kind of on my list of things I know I need to do, but just haven't gotten over the hump. And maybe this conversation will be the straw that gets me there. But in terms of internally at the organization, it is something that we've prioritized offering. And the I'm not sure if you call it telehealth, but like the virtual sessions is offered through our health plan. And I know that we try to make space for conversations that are not work related, that are aimed at sharing especially how the team has been feeling in the past year with the pandemic, with the events of last summer, with the more recent events that are affecting all types of communities. What we're making a conscious effort for is to provide space for conversations that aren't work related, because at the end of the day, your team performs best when they're mentally healthy, happy, sound. And if our opinion on the matter is if you don't allow for that to thrive, then you're doing your team a disservice.
I will say this: having been through a lot of therapy in my life, it enhances everything. Yeah, because it's just kind of like what you said. If you provide that space or allow that space for even your employees or the team members, you're really able to live in a freer space, So if you get around to doing more therapy, let me know. I would love to be nosy off camera, just to know, because I just feel like you have so much depth in the way that you were raised, and the fact that you did a lot of history or family history and tracing your past and being aware of the things that have happened and how you were raising your own life, and really being able to apply and add value to that in your company is something that, I just think is amazing. And going to therapy or having more therapy would even enhance that a little more. What is your definition of trust and believe, and how would you help people trust and believe in who they are?
Ooh, okay. First, I want to say I'm gonna use this moment to get into therapy. I think this is just such a cool experience, and to have Shaun T, advising me, I have to take that to heart. So I want to use this as a platform, because I know you're right. There's no doubt in my mind. So this I think will be a pretty seminal moment. My definition of trust and believe. So I don't have this pre-scripted, but from the heart, it feels like it stems from understanding, appreciating, and loving yourself. And if you can get there, then you can believe in yourself and you can accomplish the things that you set out to. Especially, I'm actually a big believer in vocalizing your goals, your initiatives, the things you want to accomplish. But I think so many people encounter obstacles that are merely mental constructs that need not be there because they're dissatisfied on some level with themselves. And if you can trust and believe in yourself, then anything you set out to achieve, I think, is you're inherently capable of. And that outlook on life is, as you were saying, so freeing. It's also exciting. And that, I think, is the message I would put out to the world, is like, start internally, be right with yourself, love yourself. And that makes it so much easier to love and appreciate everybody else.
Mason, thank you so much. I will continue to wear my Chubbies.
Thank you.
And I hope for those of you out there, please go follow Chubbies the brand. It's so fun. And I'm just going to be like that annoying person that says, just go type it in your search bank so you can get the ads, because the ads are really great and they make you feel really accepted. Mason, thank you so much.
Thank you, Shaun.